What's up, everybody? It's Lead Salt. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Tomb Raider anime, The Legend of Lara Croft, today because an update came out that I thought was absolutely ridiculous. I wanted to talk about the anime itself, but I just didn't get the chance. But I saw this and I was like, I really want to just say something about it because it's so stupid. So, showrunner Tashu Huo, or however you pronounce it, Tashu Huo, she got interviewed in a podcast or something like that, and she had some audience members asking her questions, and she's trying to explain why she chose the route she did with the Tomb Raider anime, and it's absolutely stupid. It's like they're trying to do damage control or something because they've dug themselves in a hole with this absolutely god awful show. um, I mean, if you've watched any reviews of it, people just roast it. I sort of wanted to review it, but I just haven't had the chance. Been so busy. If you saw my post a few months ago, I'm also sick, so I have a problem right now, so I can't really do much. But I was like, I'm going to talk about this. I need to put a video out about Tomb Raider. It's been so long. Before I get into it, before I read the article, not the article, but the quote from the podcast from Tasha, I would just want to give a little of my thoughts on the show about how it's like. So I actually didn't mind it too much in some ways because, like, okay, Lara Croft was awful. Yeah, of course. They made her cry in every episode, and this thing with Roth was just so ridiculous. But in my opinion, the concept of the villain and the concept of the artifact and the traveling she did, I wish that was better than any of the reboot games. Like, if the reboot games had the story, not the story, I'm trying to think, like if the reboot games had the adventure that this anime had, I think they would have been better. Because she was, in this anime, she was traveling, the artifact, it kind of felt like a little bit reminiscent of Tomb Raider 3, where she's going around and collecting sorry, I don't know all the names, but the little from the asteroid, I think it was, and she's collecting these artifacts, and she's racing against the other. Well, she's not really racing against that scientist guy she meets in the jungle, but in the end, he gets all of them, and then he turns into the spider monster thing. Like, it kind of reminded me of that because this guy Devereaux, he was racing against her to collect. Well, I don't even remember. That's how memorable the show was. But it's like she had the ruby box and the emerald box or jade box, and he was collecting those. Oh, he was collecting some stones, and then it changed him into a monster. So it made me think of Tomb Raider 3, and I just felt like, okay, if any of the reboot games had that kind of story, I think they would have been better, because they were just so blah. Because it's like, okay, the first one, she's on the island, and it's just the island. Second one, she's in Siberia. She was in Syria in the first 20 minutes, but then it's like just two places. It was this kind of, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider was mostly Central America or South America, Peru, or I don't remember, but it was just kind of neat to see her traveling. But oh my gosh, that didn't really help the show at all because they wrote Laura horribly. All her friends were written badly. I could probably go on, but yeah, I've actually watched it through twice because I wanted to confirm how I felt. Because the first time I watched it, I was kind of into it. I was like, okay, I want to see what happens. I just, but then I watched it again to confirm how I feel. I'm like, I know couldn't have liked it very much, so I'm going to watch it again. And I couldn't even get into it the second time. I was like really bored. I spent most of the time talking to my husband. I'm like, and we weren't even talking about the show. We just were like faded out from watching it. But one thing was that I didn't feel like she wasn't lesbian, but of course she definitely was butch, and I was like, oh my gosh. But then there was the scene where she was naked in the tub and her boobs were busting out right there. It's like, okay, why don't you draw those boobs so that you can see them in her outfits? And it kind of drove me crazy that they have to have her in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider outfit. It's such an ugly outfit. But then it was like kind of sad because not till the end they gave her two guns, but it's like you can't make nothing's gonna fix this. It was just meh. But let me get into this article. Or not, sorry, not article. Interview with Tasha. So this came from. Okay, I'll just start from the top. The news came out on November 11th, 2024. Tomb Raider anime showrunner talks emotional through line. I just don't get why they even had to make an emotional story, and I don't know if I can get through this without interrupting her because it's like everything she says is so dumb. Okay, a new episode of the Act 2 podcast has been released featuring host Tashu Huo and Josh Hallman as they answer questions from listeners. In this episode, Tasha discusses the process of choosing the emotional through line for her show Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. The episode is now available to listen to on Apple Podcasts and Podbean. I didn't listen to that. I just saw this and I read the quote, which is pretty long. Okay. There are 3 video games where the Lara Croft from my show comes from, and it's the game in 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider. My show takes place right after the last video game. Tasha says in response to a question about what caused Lara's grief over Roth to resurface in the Tomb Raider anime. My show deals with Lara being upset over her mentor dying and feeling like she is to blame. That mentor died in the 2013 game, not in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So, if my show takes place right after Shadow of the Tomb Raider, how could she possibly still be grieving this person from the 2013 game? And I understand that there is a sort of time disconnect. The way it's written, I don't know, probably listening to it makes more sense, but like, it makes sense that she got asked that question because it's like, when I watched the first episode of that Tomb Raider anime, I was like, what in the hell? Like, why is Roth here? And they made him so fucking retarded. Like, I never really even cared for him that much in the game. He was okay, but they made his character so stupid in this TV show. Like, he was this cocky asshole. And then there was like a part later in the first episode where they came up to Lara and said, "Oh, your friend was a god among men." And I'm like, really? And it was so dumb because in the first episode, first she fights the crocodile, and then she gets out of the water and she finds the pedestal with the thingamabob, whatever it was, and an artifact. And then Roth comes up and he's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, girl." And she's like, "Yay, I'm tearing up." And because she teared up in every freaking episode. No, I don't know if she teared up in that spot, but she's so happy to have some reassurance. It's like, oh my gosh, like the real Lara doesn't need, like anybody telling her, "Oh, you did good." She doesn't need that. She knows she's good. She knows that she's got power and nobody can stop her. Well, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but she's just tough. She doesn't need to be babied, and that's what she was so much babied in this show. Anyway, with the Roth thing, it's like, why bring that back up? And then you bring his character back up and it doesn't even do justice to the original character. It's so dumb. Man, I could rant about this a long time. But it's like, why does the show need to deal with her being upset over her mentor dying and feeling like she's to blame? It's like, why, and then it's coming off of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Like, this is the worst choice of story. It just shows you how much these people know about Tomb Raider. Okay, so she was saying, how could she possibly still be grieving this person from the 2013 game? Imagine you're me, starting to write this show, and you want to start Lara from a place of emotion. I wanted to start Lara from a low point. She's a superhero, so what happens when a superhero is broken? And that's who I wanted to start with, because I wanted to build her into the superhero we know from the iconic Angelina Jolie version of herself. This is so dumb. She's not a superhero. She doesn't have superpowers. That's really bad wording, and it's really stupid to peg her as a superhero. She's just she's more of an action hero or adventure hero. I don't know. It's just, she's a badass, not a superhero. Like, this isn't Spider-Man or this isn't Captain Marvel. Maybe she wants her to be like Captain Marvel. And it's just like, it's like these people can't do anything. For some reason, they always have to have emotional, like, oh, I had to start her from a place of emotion. It's like, okay, all 3 of the 2013 game, well, I don't think Rise of the Tomb Raider had her in an emotional place, and that was personally the story of the 3 reboots, that was the one I thought was the best. I didn't like the 2013 story or the Shadow of the Tomb Raider story. she wasn't that emotional in the Rise of the Tomb Raider, but in the other two, yes. But and it's like, why does it have to keep coming back to that? Why does she need to start from a low point? Like, you've already gone through that with the games, and in each game, I swear they said it was like they acted like, oh, watch. I mean, Tomb Raider 2013, they're like, oh, a survivor is born, and you kind of got the I got the idea, especially then when she picks up the two guns. Oh, there she is, the Tomb Raider. But then in the next game, they're like, it's called Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then she's supposed to become the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the back of the box. It says, witness her become the Tomb Raider, and she doesn't really become anything. It's like, what? And then they're saying in the show, witness her become the Tomb Raider. It's like, how many times do you have to say this? Why can't, it's just like, you guys will never be able to make her the Tomb Raider. That's just it. You're just never going to be able to. And it's just like the future of Tomb Raider is so fucked unless someone else takes over other than Crystal Dynamics or Amazon Games or this person. But I think that they actually already made the season 2. I think they've already animated it and everything because it took so long just for them to put the first season out. So I'm sure, I don't know, it's just my hunch. It might not be true, but I just get the feeling they already animated it. Because it was like 2 years ago that I saw there was another, there was a update saying, oh, season 2 approved. And it's like, really? You haven't even put the first season out. And it's probably not going to be good. People aren't going to probably want to see a season 2. Okay. See, I told you I couldn't get through this without interrupting. But she's like, she needs to be at a low point. She's a superhero, and we need to see what happens and how she becomes the superhero. And it's like, okay, that's so dumb. Okay, starting right here. I could have invented something. Oh, this is awful. She could have invented something. I could have invented something, but I feel like it would have felt forced. It would have felt disconnected from the video games and who she had grown into. It would have been me inventing my own canon of why Laura is broken right now, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something that felt inherent to who she was. Oh my gosh, like everything, all the 2013 games, all the reboot games, they invented something new that was so disconnected from the real Lara in Tomb Raider. And this game, or this show, was definitely disconnected, in my opinion, from the video games. They had Roth, they had Jonah, but who cares? It still didn't tie in well enough to the games as much as they said it was going to. Like, I think that people who are fans of the Survivor trilogy, the reboot trilogy, I think that they would look at this and go, what the fuck? What is this? I don't even see Lara Croft. Like, if you haven't even played the original games and you've only played the reboot games, I don't even see how you could really make the connection. I mean, if you're just an average, like a regular gamer kind of person who just picked up the game and you're like, oh, wow, this is cool. Oh, they're making a Netflix anime. What the heck? This is Tomb Raider? I thought she was like, it's like, yeah, so it's like, she said I could have invented something, but that would feel forced. It would have felt disconnected. It already does. They can't even be original. It's like, it should have been original. There should have been something more original that was more inspired by the original classic Lara. I think it would have been better. I don't know why they have to keep dragging on the Survivor thing and the reboot trilogy story, even though it didn't feel like it, but it's like they just so heavily focused on that. It's just ridiculous. Okay, in my opinion, in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft nearly ushers in the apocalypse because she believes that in doing this, she may be able to reverse that fact that her father's dead. All the pain that's happened to her, maybe she could reverse it and sacrifice the world in the process. She almost decides to do that, and in the last minute changes her mind. I just thought that story was just weird. And of course, it's just, she's always have to be grieving over her dad, and this is so dumb because, she's dealing with dad stuff, and as we know from having talked about this on the show before, everyone is tired of Laura dealing with dad stuff. She's dealt with dad stuff since we met her. And so I knew we didn't want to do the dad stuff anymore. Well, who did die in her life that was extremely important to her that, in my opinion, she has not yet gotten over? Well, that's her mentor, who died in the first game, Roth. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, I could have done so much better than this person. People today, writers, don't have any... They don't have any talent. They have to draw off of something else. I mean... It should have just been Lara on an adventure. Like, you could have had some of her friends in there, but oh my gosh, Jonah was so annoying in the game because he just, I mean, in the show, because he kept telling her, "Stop it, Lara, stop it." And, yeah, it just, It's like they could have done a couple things differently and it might have made it a little bit better. There's always like certain franchises that are bigger than Tomb Raider. Like I was discussing this with my husband. Like Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those are the only two that come to my mind right now. It's like they've made so many different series, and there's always going to be, or so many different like there was different eras to those and other popular shows and franchises, and there's always going to be like, oh, that was the worst, that era with that show, or that game really sucked, but the rest, were really good. It's like, that's what this is. It's like going to be like the lowest point for Tomb Raider right now, this anime. I just wish they could have made it a little bit better, so it's like, but now it's just a stain on the Tomb Raider legend, the Legend of Tomb Raider. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So, and the reason I feel like she hasn't gotten over that Roth is because she went right into game 2 and right into game 3. So there was a lot of covering up her pain, her original sin. Oh, brother. This mentor who died before she really became this adventurer, Lara Croft. She was still just a college student at the time. To witness him dying and to also kind of be to blame for it is a really heavy thing that feels like Lara was covering up with action, with revenge, with insert adrenaline junkie thing here. So I wanted to meet Lara that A, connected to the video games and wasn't totally new and bizarrely disconnected to who she was, and B, it was my chance to get her over something that I don't think she fully felt. I really wanted to move Lara past grief entirely, and so by dealing with Roth, she also deals with her dad in the show. By the end of the series, by episode 7 and leading into 8, she makes a conscious choice. Oh, I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like Roth. I'm going to be something new. That's going to jump us off now to season 2, where she's going to decide to be her own adventurer, unconnected emotionally to the video games she came from. We needed to process season 1 to move her through that. So that is my big, involved, truthful answer. I hope that it made sense to people who weren't just Tomb Raider fans. I don't think it made sense. It was word salad. No, it's like they're saying, "Oh, this is gonna jump us on." Having her process that, it's like you processed it for 3 games. She became the Tomb Raider 3 times, and then in the show, I guess you're not wherever she's going next. It's not gonna take us anywhere better than where you're at now. Especially with Sam coming in, it's like more past stuff. Sam from the 2013 game, and I think that's possibly when they make her gay, because there's been rumors of that, and it's like, I just, there were certain things about this anime that I thought were likable, but then, of course, the heart of the show, Lara Croft, was crap, which is super sad. But yeah, it's weird because, I personally felt like the concept of the villain and the artifacts and the traveling, that part of the story was okay. Like, I think that they could have made a game out of that, and it would have been better than most of the reboot games, which is crazy. But, yeah, Tomb Raider's in a sad spot right now, and it's crazy because they're gonna make this they're in the process of finding an actress for the live action show by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Why would they choose that person who, messed up Indiana Jones? It's like, and then I just don't get it. It's like, okay, you got the anime, you got a whole season 2 coming out of the anime, and then you're talking about a live action show, and you're talking about a new game, and none of it's going to be good. It's just going to be flop after flop. I really believe that because, well, we've yet to see what the live action show might look like, but it's hard for me to think. It's hard for me to figure out how they ruin it, because it's like, okay, everybody all these industry people who are completely woke and anti-men, they want to see strong female characters. They can't make strong female characters, but they have one readily available. You'd think, it's like, how do they ruin that? But I guess they mainly ruin it by making her butch, and oh man, the future of Tomb Raider does not look bright at all. I did want to add that Haley Atwell, I've heard some people like her, some people don't. I actually did not I wasn't really a fan of her playing the voice. It just didn't fit, because she feels so mature, and the character was not mature. But I do think Haley Atwell would play a live action Tomb Raider pretty good. She's got some big boobs. She has the body to play Tomb Raider. I think that if she played a live action Tomb Raider, she would be good. So this show didn't do justice for her. It's so strange. It's like, okay, they got rid of. I can't believe I forgot her name from the reboot trilogy. Oh man, I didn't. I can't remember. Well, I just think it's interesting. It's like they get rid of her, but they keep Jonah, and it's just like they don't. It's like they're just all over the place. These people behind Tomb Raider right now, and it's just unfortunate. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment and share your thoughts if you want, and like and subscribe. All right, talk to you later.